And this is how we welcome you to Artistic Spots, a show about art, talent, and entrepreneurship, where you are also the artist. In Artistic Spot, we're actors of our movies, singers of our musicals, and writers of our books. My name is Jose Rodriguez Marmol, and I'm your host. And this is episode 106, and we have a special guest from FAVO, Studio 138, Cheri Riechers. Thank you,
You got that right. You're welcome. Glad to be here.
Thank you so much.
Glad to have you here.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be right here with you. You have a very beautiful pieces of artwork in your studio, but your story is also amazing. So can you tell us a little bit about how you started in art after being part of corporate America for such a long period of time, and then you changed to computers and systems and NASA and everything for paintbrushes and colors. Can you tell us?
I know, because I studied art in college, but I didn't think, that was a long time ago. I'm an elderly person, and that was a very long time ago. They didn't have art festivals when I got out of college. So I decided that I would go into the computer industry. If you're creative, you can probably do just about anything. I loved it. But there came a time when I said, okay, there's all kinds of venues that I think that I could probably go into. And I had my art, actually, even before that, I made some hand-painted fabrics. And we had a friend that was a designer who came over to the house, and she said, oh my gosh, I had made them into pillows. She came over to the house and she said, where did you get those pillows? And I said, I made them. She said, well, I know that I could sell those. And I started out doing hand-painted fabrics, which led into doing murals on walls.
Wow.
And then one day, someone from Sotheby's, a local art dealer, I met them at a party, and her name was Judy Albertson, she's still around. And Judy said to me, she said, I'd like to see your artwork. So I brought it over to the Albertson Peterson Gallery. She looked at it and I said, I don't know. What should I do? I have pillows. I don't really have any paintings. I've been doing murals. What can I do with this? And she said, go for it. I would go for it. And I had I owned a consulting company at that time, and I thought, oh, okay, I'm going to give it a try. And I went down to the Scott Laurent Gallery on Park Avenue the same day, which was a Friday or a Saturday. And I said, hi guys, I have all this artwork. And they just looked at me, they were like, what? You can't just walk in here and say, I've got all this artwork. And I said, well, I just kind of did. Should I leave and come back with an appointment? They said, no, come on in. We usually interview artists once a month on Tuesdays. So I came back in. I went there that day, sorry. And they said, oh my gosh. They said, can you do some little paintings? So I did some little faces. I've always been intrigued with face line drawings like Picasso style. I did these little teeny tiny paintings, and I brought them in. They were all faces. And I said to Scott and Larry, I said, will you take these? And they said, yeah, we'll take them all. And there were like 9 or 10 of them. And I said, okay. And they said, how much do you want for them? And I said, I don't know, $30. And they looked at me and they said, no, you want more than that, because we're only going to give you 50% of what we sell it for. And I said, well, nobody knows who I am. Sell them for 30, 35, 40? He goes, no, we're going to sell them for 90. And this was back in I think it was like 1994. Wow. And they said, we're going to sell them for 90. I said, well, I don't think you're going to get that for them. And they said, we'll do a thing. We'll keep all of it but $25, because since that's what you think your art is worth. And they sold them all within 2 weeks. They sold them all, and that was my first lesson in art. Wow. And that was my first start. It was fun.
What happened after that? Because that's an amazing story, that you did not know that you were capable of selling your art for such a high price at that time. So in the first lesson, but what happened after that?
After that, I stayed with them for 15, 18 years. And then I started painting at a place called Cafe Tutu Tango, which I love. Greatest place. It's on International Drive. A little plug for Cafe Tutu Tango, Angie Ramos. Anyways, I started painting there, and I could not believe that people would actually come into a restaurant and buy chicken wings or, you know, Cajun chicken egg rolls and spend $1,200 on a painting. So I gradually started raising my prices on paintings. You know, you don't want to just say, oh, I sold a whole bunch of paintings for $90, so I'm going to charge $500 now. You have to just go up a little bit, increments at a time. And once it slows down, then you don't raise them anymore. But I was with Cafe Tutu Tango, probably the best move I ever made in my life, because you never know who's going to go in there. I sold to movie stars. I sold to everyday people. I sold to people whose children would come up and watch me painting, and they would say, Mommy, Daddy, can you buy this painting? And they would. It was one of the best experiences. I learned how to talk to people. I learned what was important to them. I got to interact with little kids where they would say, well, I'm taking an art class and my teacher says that I can't go out of the lines. And I said, you know what? You do what you should do in your art class, but when you go home, you can make the sky green and the grass blue if you want, and you can go out of the lines and do whatever you want. And from there, I met a lot of people. I went into a lot of different galleries around the country, and I got invited. This was a fantastic thing. I got invited to go to Walt Disney World to do their festival of the Flower and Garden Festival and the Food and Wine Festival. They invited me to both of them. And at that time, that was probably early 2000s. And I also, a few years before that, I had been invited by the biggest art publishing company in the United States, or maybe even the world. They were not located in the United States. And they wanted to put my art on products. They wanted to do prints and licensed products. So my art went on glass cutting boards, it went on calendars, and just tons of stuff. They were looking at it for plates and all different kinds of things. It was on tables. And so I was doing that. I was really feeling good about my art. I was very blessed. I truly am. But then I got invited out to Disney, and they wanted me to stop selling my prints through somebody else. They wanted me to sell them at Disney during the festivals, and I thought, okay, what do I do now? And I had to end my contract in order to do the things at Disney. And it was a really tough decision for me because I was doing pretty well with that licensing contract. There's a lot of information that I impart to artists who get involved in publishing contracts for prints. It's a whole different world, and I'm not going to go into that, but the licensing was incredible. I did give it up so that I could do Disney, and Disney was very kind to me. They were wonderful, wonderful people. They kept inviting me back and not inviting back a lot of other people. So the group of like 20 artists that they had kept dwindling down and down and down and down until it was just me and maybe 3 other artists, or me and 4 other artists. And the last thing that I did with the Food and Wine Festival, I was in the Festival Center doing a thing with, he's actually doing a show right now at the Orlando Museum, Clyde Butcher, and he was doing his things on one side and I was doing my things on the other, and I just loved Disney. But my mom had a heart attack and my husband got cancer, and I had to stop. So when the end of that festival was over, I don't remember if that was Food and Wine. That might have been Flower and Garden Festival, but I couldn't do either one of them because you had to be out at Disney for 50 days of the festival, and you had to be there to sign paintings and sell paintings. And I did their poster for the Flower and Garden Festival in 2007, which was the year that my mother had her heart attack, right during the festival, and my husband got cancer, and I was like, okay, I can't do this either. So that was a big change in my art career. And it's that since 2007, it's been a little dicey. You know, I haven't been able to devote as much time to art as I would like, but I still do it. I still love art. I still sell art, but I've got other responsibilities.
Of course. Besides that experience at Cafe Tutu Tango and Disney and all this wonderful experience that you have had in your career as an artist, you also teach art to kids.
I used to. Oh, kids beating cancer? Oh my
Correct.
God.
Can you tell us a little bit about that beautiful story?
There is, and by the way, and I don't want to leave this out, I was with McCrae Art Studios for 20 years, which is another group of artists, and learned a lot there too, and made some wonderful friendships. But Kids Beating Cancer is, it's a charity that was started by Margaret Geddes. And her son had passed away from, I believe it's a form of leukemia. I mean, I haven't been as involved with him for probably 4 years, but I partnered with them and did, they would have once a year, they would have this Kids Beating Cancer where they were drumming out cancer, and it would be at Hard Rock Hotel or other places. And all the kids that were, I don't know how to really put this. They were very, very ill children. And once a year they would hold a big party for them. And one time they got all these plastic buckets from Lowe's, and they turned them upside down, and they would bang on the drums, and a band would play, and they would bang and they would sing. Sitting there with those kids, I would bring paints out there, and depending upon what we were doing, I would take, I probably have some here, some 8x10 canvases, and I would draw the outline of a frog or a guitar or an angel. And then I would bring all these canvases, because there might be 80 kids there. So I bring all these canvases, and I would stack them up on tables, and then I would bring all kinds of paint and little trays for them to put the paint on. I'd put the paint on the trays for them, otherwise
Yes.
they'd be putting half of the jar in there. But, and then I would walk around and I would tell them, just go paint these. I didn't really tell them, like that painting the sky blue, the sky green and the grass blue. You need to let kids be creative.
Yes.
But what I learned was art is such a healing thing for children. And I would sit with those kids and talk to them, and I'll never forget, there were a couple kids that just got me. They really got me. One of them was a little girl. I was sitting there, her mom was across from me, and she was painting and drawing and coloring and doing all kinds of things. And she started talking about her cancer, and I would guess that she was maybe 9, 10 years old. And she's going on and telling me all about the cancer. And I look up and I see the look on her mom's face, and she's just kind of like this. So I got up from the table after a few minutes, and her mom came over to me and she said, she has never spoken about her cancer. This is the first time I've ever heard her talk about her cancer. That was one. And the next time was, I've had a lot, but these are the ones that just, actually 3 things. The next time it was a little girl. She was so adorable. And she had this beautiful long hair in a ponytail. And she was kind of late to, this was actually at the Hard Rock Hotel. And she came up to me and I said, do you want some glitter paint to do your angel with? And I think it was an angel with a rainbow around it. And she said, yes. And I put the glitter on there, and she said, thank you. Big smile, and she went over to sit down and start painting. And her mom and dad came up to me, and they said, this is the first time we have seen her smile all year. And do you know what that child had gone through? I may get this wrong. It was 6, 7, or 8 operations. She was probably only 6 she was probably 7, I would guess, maybe 8 at the top. She had had 6, 7, or 8 operations where she could not even swallow. She was just in a horrific situation. And God bless Margaret Geddes and the doctors. And Margaret, through her charity, raised enough money to open up the Kids Beating Cancer wing at Florida Hospital's Children's Wing.
Wow.
And that was a few years ago. I went to the grand opening. I was there. And I painted, in honor of that, I painted, along with a guy named Boris Ugarte, I always get this wrong, Ugarte, who worked for me as an intern from UCF for years. And he and I created this, I think it was 7 feet long mural. So these kids at the Kids Beating Cancer wing had a little room there that was a treatment room, and it was kind of intimidating. It looked like a regular room, but when they went in there, it was kind of scary, you know? So I painted this mural, and then we had to have it fixed so that it was in line with what they require for, you know, plexiglass and all that over it. And we put it on the wall, and it was not a big room. It was not even as big as this studio, I don't think. And there was a bed, and then it was like if the bed was here and the mural was right there. And then I would give them 3D glasses. And it was, you can see it on my website, cheriart.com. And the mural, I painted it in colors that would go with 3D glasses so that they would pop out and recede. And it was really fun for the kids. And I gave them a whole bunch of 3D glasses. They're out of them now. I need to give them more. And when the kids would go in that room, they would try to find the Kids Beating Cancer has this bear called Bunky Bear. It's a stuffed animal that Margaret's son John used to hold. And I would hide pictures of Bunky Bear in the jungle.
Wow.
And they would have to try to find it. So it really could take their mind off of it. Even without the 3D glasses, they could look at this and try to find Bunky Bear. And the whole purpose was to make them stop thinking about what was going on in the room and maybe give them something else to concentrate on. I hope it worked. I haven't heard. So that was a few years back. So that's pretty much what I've been doing and what I did with Kids Beating Cancer. I did some other things too with them.
Wow, Cheri, that's a beautiful story. And if you were able to choose one specific time or chapter or another lesson, since you mentioned the lesson before, would that be in your career that could be the highlights of your story as an artist? And what has been your biggest takeaway and why?
You know, I really think the Kids Beating Cancer thing, I really did enjoy that.
What's the biggest takeaway from that experience?
It taught, well, not to get too personal, but I have a grandson who had a brain tumor removed last year and just had some really serious surgery up in Boston, and he's 7.
Wow.
And his brain tumor was diagnosed at age 6. If I had not done it, you know, things work in mysterious ways. God is just kind of looking out for you, at least I think. Everything has a purpose and a meaning. If I hadn't worked with Kids Beating Cancer and worked with those kids and seen what they went through, and they all smile. It's amazing.
Yes.
I mean, I didn't see any kids that were going, oh, woe is me. They were amazing kids. And so it taught me that even though a child has something seriously wrong, they can deal with it.
Yes.
And they do. And my grandson is a prime example. And if I had not worked with those kids at Kids Beating Cancer, I don't think I would have had the insight and the understanding to know how to act and not, you know, coddle too much. I mean, I think you need to a little bit, but, you know, not to coddle too much, but to just say, hey, what do you want to do today? You know, and he was in the hospital for 2.5 months. So I think that's probably the biggest takeaway. But I have to say, I've done a lot, and I think if I hadn't had the background in corporate America, I would not have known to treat art like a business, because it is a business. I know I do what I love, but if you can't sell what you love as a business, you're not going to be doing what you love very long.
True.
It is a business, and you have to treat it like a business, but also treat it like something that comes from the heart. So in corporate America, I learned about that. I learned how to market my art. I learned how to sell my art. I learned how to let go of my art. I learned how not to take forever to create my art. I just learned a lot of things about what's important. in becoming a successful artist. And I love passing that on to other artists. I do a Marketing Your Art workshop, and I like talking to other artists. I do. I think it's kind of fun.
It is. And it's beautiful when you have those beautiful stories that you can share with them, and one of them will resonate with someone else, and that's the whole purpose of all this episode with you.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned, Cheri, at the beginning of our conversation that you gave these kids angels, and there was an angel with a rainbow. You have an angel collection.
I do.
Can you talk to us a little bit
That's
about
also
that? Because
very,
I know that's very close to your heart.
Very close to my heart. I don't know how many years ago it's been. It's been a long time. I had a friend who was, I think he was only 60 years old, and he passed away from a brain tumor. Isn't that odd? And my daughter-in-law had brain aneurysms, and my husband had 2 brain tumors. I mean, I don't know what this is, but it's kind of weird. But his name was Joe Fisher, and his wife Brenda and their kids were friends of mine and still are. Brenda's still a friend, and their kids. Joe passed away, and at his funeral they read a poem, and the poem went, life is a journey, etc., etc. Birth is a beginning, life is a journey, and death is a destination. And those 3 lines really resonated with me. And I wish I could remember who wrote it. It's been too long. His name was Alvin somebody. And I thought, you know what? In honor of Joe, I'm going to paint Birth is a Beginning, which was a whole series of mother and child paintings. And I did, I think, 26 of them. And I sold them all but 2. I still have 2 of them. I have one really big one in my house. And I loved doing them. And they were very Picasso-esque looking paintings. And those were my mother and child paintings. I also, Death is a Destination. I guess I have to tell you that I vowed when I started doing artwork that I would never do anything that would make people sad. I was put on earth, I believe, to make people happy, to make them smile. So when you walk down the street and you smile at somebody and you don't even know them and they smile back, you don't know what they're going through. You might have made their day. So I don't want to create a bunch of artwork that's like, oh, death. And I thought, how am I going to do a series called Death is a Destination? And I thought about, what do I think about death? I think about angels and things like that. And so I started a series of angels that were dedicated to people who died and left us with words of wisdom. And for the most part, I don't think people throw away artwork. I think they pass it down, especially now my painting prices have gone from, from that $90 up to $25,000. So, and a lot of paintings are in the, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10,000 range back then. So, I don't think people throw those away. Now, I expect, and I could be wrong, that they don't, that they pass them on, that they do pass them on to their children or somebody. And in my mind, those sayings that the person that died and left us with words of wisdom, those sayings will be looked at by people who have never heard of those sayings. So it keeps perpetuating itself. Yes. So as we leave this earth and other people are growing and watching and looking at those paintings, maybe they'll learn something from them too. So that was my whole concept of doing it, and I did a lot of those paintings. And when I was at Disney, I sold a lot of those paintings. And I thought, well, I'm here for the Food and Wine and Flower and Garden Festival. Do you guys, I'm talking to the corporate people, and I said, do you want me to do my angels? And they went, yes. And I actually had the president of Disney come and buy 3 of them.
Wow.
Back when it was a woman, and she came up, and she was wearing, that's a totally funny story. I'm so positive about Disney. They were so nice to me. And she came up and she was wearing Bermuda shorts and a, you know, just a little, like a Lauren type type shirt. And she said, "Oh, I love these." And she was looking at them, and I said, "Well," I don't know why I said it, but I said it to some people that I thought might work at Disney, and I said, "Do you work for Disney?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "Well, they're doing this really cool thing for Disney where they give you 30% off if you're a Disney employee." I said, "When you go to pay for these, why don't you tell them that you're a Disney employee and you'll get 30% off," which I think is really cool. They don't even take it off of my end. I said, "I think that's fabulous." So she bought them and she came back and I said, "Did you get your discount?" She said, "Nah, I decided not to." Later I found out that she was the president. I was like, "Oh my God, you'd think I'd know those things." But, you know, they had just had a change in the corporation and it was, I had no idea. What, you know, I'm an artist.
Yeah, of course.
What can I say?
That's true. Now, Cheri, you mentioned something really important, which is purpose. What do you think is your purpose in life?
To make people happy. That's it.
And how do you celebrate life through happiness?
With my family. That comes first. Faith, family, friends. And that's all it's about. Because you know what? The older you get, the more you realize most stuff is a bunch of crap.
It's true.
I mean, I'm sorry, but it is. You know, the things that I worried about when I was in my 20s, 30s, and 40s, I mean, really, come on. They were just silliness. And there are some serious things in life, so put a smile on your face. I mean, I have gone through a really bad 5 years of crazy stuff. And people constantly come up to me and say, "How do you do it? How do you smile all the time?" It's because you have choices. You have a choice. My purpose in life is not to walk around with a big frown on my face and say, "Boo-hoo." It's to say, it's okay. We'll be okay. Just put your foot in front of the other one and keep moving forward, but put a smile on your face as long as you can. And ask for help from up above, from your friends, and from your family. My family is everything. I have grandkids now. They come in here and they paint with me. I was just in here with my granddaughter the other day. We were making rings.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I mean, we've done Harry Potter wands for a birthday party. I can't wait to start doing painting workshops in here again. Kids, I don't do too much with kids, but maybe older kids, do a few, maybe 6 or 7 at a time, doing crafts. They love doing stuff like that. And with the adults, just, I don't know, doing the do, whatever.
What's next for you?
Well, that's a good question. Those paintings that are over there, they're of line drawings of faces. And you can, I don't know if I have any faces here. I love doing my abstracts. I just sold 2 small ones similar to that.
Beautiful.
I love doing the abstracts, and I love putting the sparkles in the paintings, because my employees and my grandchildren, my employees used to call me, and my grandchildren do call me Grandma Sparkle, and my employees used to call me the Sparkle Queen. And Boris was my Sparkle Prince. But anyways, I'm torn. This is kind of weird, but as I get older, and in my mid-70s, I think to myself, if I had to pick one thing, what would I do in art? And it's really tough, because you kind of feel like there's a dog chasing its tail, going round and round and round. And there's so many things I want to do, but I also know mentally that I shouldn't be doing all those things. So I know I'm going to do more of the abstracts, but my faces that I do, the line drawings of the faces, those are really, they're the first thing that I started out doing. And everybody loves them. And they don't take me long to do. And I want to continue doing those faces. I haven't done them in years, but I just feel the need to be doing more of them. And I did have them at the art museum, at the museum shop. but they've just renovated, and
Yes.
they don't have a lot of stuff in there now that would be conducive to that. But I do want to continue doing the faces. That is called the Face in the Crowd series. And the whole point of that is, why I started doing them is, number one, I love Picasso. And they remind me of Picasso, but they've got my own little art crazy twist on them. And when you walk down the street, and I think of New York City or anything, Miami, where you see tons and tons of people, and they're just a blur of faces. If you could reach into the crowd and pull one person out and find out their story, you'd find that they have happiness, they have sadness, they're rich, they're poor, they're going through struggles, they're not going through struggles. And so they're just another face in the crowd until you talk to them. Yes. And then when they go back in the crowd, they're just another face in the crowd again. Yes. And I started doing those in 1994 when I went to that Scott Laurent gallery. And those are the exact same faces that I had on the little teeny tiny things that they sold for $90. I believe that art is for everyone, and this is something that Disney taught me. There would be people that would come in that had lots of money, and they would spend it. But there were a lot of people that came in that did not. Maybe they saved for months and months, maybe years, to go to Disney. Sure. And they wanted art really bad. I had prints that I sold for $20, $30, I think they were actually $45 there. But if they couldn't even afford a print, what I would tell them, and this goes back to the face in the crowd and what I'm going to say, those paintings, I sell those for $295, because it doesn't take me a long time to make them, and I want people to own art that maybe don't have a big budget, and that's original art. I would say to the people that didn't have enough money that they, I would say to them, listen, go home and go through a magazine and find all the pictures that you love and tear them out. Get a bunch of magazines, get some art magazines, tear out those pictures that you love. And when you find one that is the best of the best, or 2 or 3 or 4, take some Scotch tape or something and put them up on your wall, because they're going to make you happy. And they're going to remind you that one day, there were a lot of college kids and high school kids or whatever. One day, you're going to be able to afford a print for $25. I sell my prints for $28 in here, and you're going to be able to do that. And then one day later on, maybe you can afford an original.
Yes.
Maybe you find an artist that's just starting out that's selling art that you like. Don't buy art to go over your couch. Buy art because it means something to you, because you love it. And then spend $50 or $75 on that new artist. Or come in here and buy something for $2.95, Yes. It's, everybody should have art in their lives, even if it's on a Kleenex box.
That is true. Cheri, I understand why they call you Queen Sparkle.
Sparkle Queen.
Sparkle Queen.
But you know what? I like Queen Sparkle too.
Oh, there you go. So I give you a new name now. So you're Queen Sparkle to me.
Oh, thank you.
So now I understand why they call you that name. But I'm really honored. We are honored
Thank
to
you.
have you as part of our story in Artistic Spot.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We appreciate you. Your art is beautiful, and you are, as a human being, even more beautiful than your art.
Oh, thank you.
And thank you so much for being part of our story. But I want you to tell our audience a message before we leave.
Oh my God, you're throwing this at me right now?
Yes.
Give them a message?
Yes. What will you tell the people that's going to be watching this episode and listening to us everywhere podcasts are available?
You know what? I do have a message. Go through life with a smile on your face, and every single day find one thing minimum to laugh at.
That's beautiful.
That's it.
Thank you, Cheri, once again. Where can people follow you?
I have a website called Cheri Art, CHERI. That's how my name is spelled, ART.com. And they can come here to FAVO. I'm on Instagram, but I don't really do it. I'm on Facebook, Cheri Riechers, R-I-E, not E-I, R-I-E-C-H-E-R-S. That's about it. I'm not really doing much right now because I'm getting ready to have a surgery, and I'll be out of the business for a little while. So, you know, that's it. Oh, and I'm on, actually, I'm on, there's a, oh God, what's it called? It's Amy Amder Productions out of Chicago. They do a lot of art festivals. I don't do art festivals, but I do their online art thing, but it's, just look up Amy Amder.
Okay.
Because I just sold a painting on there. I've sold a few.
Awesome.
And that's another place they can find me. Amy Amder is AMDUR. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're
Cheris,
welcome.
again.
Thank you.
And thank you guys for joining us in another episode of Artistic Spot. But first, don't forget to follow us on Instagram, RJJ Design. Subscribe to our Artistic Spot YouTube channel. Check our Facebook page, JJ Arts and Design. And of course, don't forget to tune us back in next week for episode 1 of 7 on Artistic Spot, where you are also the artist.